Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, blue liquor shields, Nestle search peasants, vassals, trained monkeys. I'm a useful idiot, and this is going to make a nice companion piece to my recent video on Irish banker scum, because some stories just encapsulate what is wrong with the global banking system, just how corrupt it is, loaded with cronyism and hidden debt, corruption, and nepotism. And this story coming out of Europe is another prime example. This is Eurozone corruption laid bare. And this is revelations that have come out from Italy now. And a little background history is in order because of what happened in Greece. And a lot of my viewers might remember that when Greece used currency trades designed by Goldman Sachs in 2001 to mask the level of its debt and join the Eurozone. And Goldman Sachs continued to help Greece cook its books all the way up to 2009. We can see the results of that in Greece now, the greatest depression in Greek history. And the amount of debt was 2.8 billion euros in 2001. And then after they restructured their debts with the help of Goldman Sachs in 2005, it raised the amount of their debt to 5.8 billion euros, which is a huge amount. It doesn't look like that much compared to the bailouts that Greece has needed since then, but it was a huge amount to deal with at the time. And not to mention the fact that Goldman Sachs, of course, made huge profits off the fees for doing these kind of transactions. And needless to say, there's transactions like this throughout Europe, no doubt. And we're seeing another example in Italy. And, of course, the other part of the corruption here is that Brussels, the head the Eurozone, knew all along that the Greek books were cooked in order to get in the Eurozone. They also were aware of that books were cooked to get Italy in the Eurozone, which is the story that's coming out now. So Mario Draghi, who's now the head of the European Central Bank, joined Goldman Sachs in 2002, and he's actually the one that handled all the Greek restructuring of debt in 2005, and yet went on to deny it during his hearings to become the head of the ECB. And in 2006, Jean-Claude Trichet, who was then the head of the European Central Bank, he even vetoed a request from Bloomberg about these Draghi connections to the Greek bailout. And by 2006, of course, Draghi was nominated to head the European Central Bank by the same Jean-Claude Trichet. Well, it turns out that Draghi was directly involved in arranging similar, much larger transactions for Italy, while he was director of the Director General of the Bank of Italy's central bank in 1999, and he worked towards that goal from through 1994, 1996, and up to 1999. And a little background on that: according to the Eurozone law, you need a budget deficit of 3% to get into the Eurozone. And we've learned since then that nearly every country in Europe could not meet that meager requirement and cook their books. And Greece's story has come out. Now Italy's story is coming out. We'll be hearing more of these. And to give you an idea of just how quickly and how badly they cooked the books, Italy had a budget deficit of 7.7% in 1995, but the deficit magically shrank to 2.7% in a mere 3 years. So by 1998, and of course being under 3%, they got approval to enter the Eurozone that year, Italy. And but there's more to the story. It turns out that Draghi's deputy director at the Central Bank of Italy, the Bank of Italy, on these same debt-hiding deals, he left the Bank of Italy in 2000 and then returned as the Director General himself of the Bank of Italy in 2012 with Draghi's support. So the assistant director of the Bank of Italy, who helped Draghi hide all of these debts, himself became head of the Bank of Italy 12 years later. So a little payback there now. And all this is being revealed now because the Italian government is set to lose billions as a result of this restructuring of these derivatives contracts that they use to hide their debt that go all the way back to 1999. And 8 billion euros in losses, and up to exposure to up to 31 billion in notional value of those derivatives. So a huge gap. And we saw this same thing play out in Greece. And not only was Goldman Sachs involved in this, and not only did Draghi work for Goldman Sachs, but now we have Morgan Stanley and J.P. Morgan who are involved in cooking the books for Italy. So once again, we have this connection with the too big to fail banks on Wall Street, helping European countries cook their books so they can get into the Eurozone, reaping huge profits, and now continuing to reap profits off the suffering of these very same countries as they suffer the results of fudging their books and hiding their debt. And this is a lot of bad news just when Italy doesn't need it. Italy is teetering on the verge of an EU bailout, and just as Spain is. And Italy's debt is third largest in the world after the United States and Japan. They have a total of 2.1 trillion euros in debt. And then another bad aspect of this is Italy is tied to what many perceive as an upcoming default in Argentina. A lot of Italian banks have connections with Argentina, and should Argentina default, it will ripple through the Italian banking system. So this is all very bad news. And some of the good news for us as citizens of the globe is this confirms that Draghi is just more global banking scum who knew of and helped Greece fudge their books, and also helped Italy fudge their books. And then lastly, the last part of this deal is it looks like Goldman Sachs hired Draghi in 2000 as a direct result, payback for setting up that deal with Italy. So in every single aspect, this is another global banking scum operation, and all the details are very lurid. And unfortunately, we're not going to get all the details on this because the Eurozone, Brussels, and the European Central Bank will continue to bury the story as best they can. But one thing they can't bury, and that's Italy's unsustainable debt and their drive to default and economic depression. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.